Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Oh, it's beyond pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time, obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, folks. A bit of a sneaky one for you coming in on a Saturday on which it is too hot for Brits to cope. We can't do it, guys. We've all resigned. I had plans. It's not happening now. Not happening at all. So I'm just hauled away, shut out, keeping the sun off, talking about Lovecraft. It's the only thing I can do in this kind of temperature. We're not built for it. We just can't handle it. I hope you guys are fine wherever you are. Hello to everyone watching live as you come in, and hello especially to you wonderful people who watch on the replays and are forgotten nearly every week by me. I know you forgive me. I appreciate it. We have a bonus one for you. This is still part of the member mandate May. Even though we're coming into July, what can I say? There are a lot of requests. A lot of requests from channel members. I want to honour them. And if you fancy joining the illustrious company of those requesting this, then you can do so either here on YouTube or on Subscribestar. There you go. Although, give it a month, eh? You know, don't. I've got a lot of these requests to cover. You know, give it a month. Give it a month. I'm not tackling Lovecraft alone. I wouldn't dream of it. So I brought on my resident Lovecraft expert, Murgoot. How are you doing, friend?
Oh, doing much better than I was Thursday. So, yeah, this is an interesting little film. HP Lovecraft Historical Society does a lot of good work. They get the stuff, and they're the ones who help produce it, and they distribute it. And they're a lot of fun. I'd recommend going to their website, HPLHS.com. They also have a great store if you want Cthulhu merchandise.
They seem to have a good vibe. And am I right? They also did a few audio adaptations of his works.
Many.
That seems like a very good move for them, but also, you know, massive kudos for them. This is not their first movie, but it is, I would say, their more ambitious one. We previously reviewed their adaptation of Call of Cthulhu, which my memory is it's about 2006 that was done.
Thereabouts. The perfect 1920s silent era style movie, and wonderful and charming.
Absolutely. We reviewed it very favorably. It I think they had a look at their situation. What do we have? An army of Lovecraft obsessives who will give their time, and the small amount of money they have. What can we do with that? Well, we can't do an epic, but we could use a format that we can work with that suits, which is the silent film. Genius. And they've taken a little bit of that idea in tonight's film, the adaptation of The Whisperer in Darkness. Although they didn't go as far, they've aimed for more sort of 1930s, 1950s noir sort of it's not fully silent era at all. It's definitely a step forward.
It's they looked at the old 30s Universal picks and King Kong from 1933 and went with that style. They specifically wanted that feeling, which they got.
Yes, I can see it. I can see why you would want something that was so heavy on sort of stark shadows and so on, and the way they would frame the action. It makes sense to me. I mean, we'll talk about how well that landed as we go on, but we've got to commend the effort. A quick Googling implies that this movie was made for $50,000. That seems light to me.
It's the movie was made for 50,000. There wasn't much advertising. It was almost all word of mouth, and a lot of horror, especially Lovecraft fans, are aware of H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society's work in bringing things to life. And Sandy Peterson, the author of the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game for Chaosium in the late 70s, early 80s, was one of the big donators to the cause, and he donated enough to get a full cameo in this. If the audience isn't familiar with the COC role-playing game, Sandy Peterson was one of the level developers for Doom. He was one of the first of ID Software's developers. He came out of Capcom. Or no, I'm sorry, Microprose. He also went on to work on Quake, and then his biggest moneymaker was Age of Empires.
So, we're going to forgive him, seeing as Age of Empires has probably stolen a couple of years of my life at this point. It's one of those games I would be terrified to actually go onto Steam and just look at the hours count. I just, there are some things we're better off not knowing.
Well, if anybody in the audience wants to follow Sandy Peterson, it's at Sandy of Cthulhu, all one word. And he does everything from his grandkids to old horror movies to his Cthulhu-related games, the history of working for ID Software, the history of him working with Microsoft and Microprose, among other things. And he's a wellspring of information.
Yeah, good on him. Well, and a special gratitude to him for trying to fund this. Oh, well, no, actually funding this, because it did work. And
oh yeah,
I come away from this. I said this on the Thursday stream, Murgoot, but I watch the Thursday adaptation of The Thing on the Doorstep was made as suitable flesh. We highly recommend it if you didn't catch that stream. Really enjoyed it. They made that for $2 million, and it just seeing what these guys could do for 50,000. I just weep at seeing, just knowing that Marvel just dropped probably 200 million on the latest dresh that they've schlopped out.
Oh God, yes.
And it's like, oh my God, they didn't even care. They just wanted to fill the schedule. It's like, come on. You can imagine what these guys could do with a tenth of the money that was put out on whatever the latest schlock is. Like, oh my gosh, what could they do with 20 million?
Everything that I've heard about, a lower budget means you have to be really creative and you have to tighten everything, including making the script that much more entertaining rather than just laying out pablum. Oh, and as to John Goris's question, Guillermo del Toro, God, it's a mouthful. It was his passion project to make Mountains of Madness.
Mm.
He was talking about stop motion, but God, what was the film that he was about to make it, and a similar film came out and it got shelved. He picked it back up again, and they told him a $200 million budget for an unknown author and one that wasn't big action style, wasn't worth it, so it got shelved indefinitely. I would have
Tragic.
loved to see it.
And yeah, I struggle to think that, okay, you don't have 200 million, but I'm like, okay, could you get 50? Could you do something with 50? Like, Serenity, right? We will talk about this actual film. Forgive me, we're in nerdy waters here. We're going to go astray. There are many tempting paths and willows we could follow. But like Serenity was made for about $30 million. And I remember once they got that budget, they had the control, and Whedon talked about how he just had to be unbelievably strict at rationing shots. But they managed to do it, and it was planned around the budget, and they managed to deliver it. Just, I know, I find it hard to believe you couldn't do something with like 20, right?
Yeah. It's at the Mountains of Madness, you really need the higher budget just to simulate the oh God. Sorry, got to remove the battery pack from the phone.
No worries. But yeah, that's going to be a grander scale, of course, sometimes. But I feel the tech is making it cheaper. I feel we could be very forgiving of a story like this. I mean, Serenity went out. I'm sorry to Serenity post, but that went out for a fan screening with just massive screens saying "insert effect shot here," and was still greeted extremely warmly. Yes. Anyway, sorry, I shouldn't take us off topic so much. We all want more money for Lovecraft adaptations because, gosh darn it, although increasingly I would worry about what would happen to them. How can I say? I think if you make a $200 million movie, you get a lot of people sticking their noses in, wanting to have a sniff around and see what's going on and see how their money's being spent and take care of concerns and, maximize appeal, etc., until you have just something very bland and generic. And maybe Lovecraft is, especially given some of the ideas in his work and the general ethos of it, maybe he's better at a kind of 10 million range where no one bothers you.
Yeah, that's why Stuart Gordon was so successful with it. Yeah, Stuart Gordon's from the Corman family, get it out, but he's so gleeful with it that it works.
Yes. Yeah. And forgive me, I quoted this already on the Thursday stream. But it was so I'm reading a book at the moment called Horror Film and Psychoanalysis, which is a sort of series of essays about Freudian views of horror. And this essay by Jonathan Crane on the problem of irony talks about the use of irony and its intersection with the uncanny in horror, and how horror audiences are almost uniquely accepting of ironic presentations of the movie that can still lead to sincere experiences. And I buy into this a lot, and that the theories in that really resonated with both for me when I think of Stuart Gordon's work and the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society films, in that both of them, I think, come at you with a kind of ironic presentation, a non-serious presentation, as a way of just sort of lowering the defense barriers. Like, you don't really do a suspension of disbelief. You kind of go for a I'm in on the joke vibe. But once you're in on the joke, you come into the film ironically. But having done that, you can then start, your defenses are down. You can then start enjoying it sincerely. This is my pet theory.
Yeah, so many people. Corman was a master of that art. I mean, Carnosaur was absolutely goofy, but it was a hit because it was goofy.
Yeah. You overlook the budget. Okay, you got a crap budget. That's cool. We work at it. We'll have a little laugh at the budget. We'll have a laugh at the terrible effects, but we're enjoying it. It's a way of getting in. Anyway, sorry.
Corman trained so many people, including Stuart Gordon took a lot of his moves from Corman.
Jonathan Demme, too, of all people.
Yeah. And H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society also looks at Corman. They look at all the silent films. They look at Universal Pictures, monster movies. I mean, they have the touch. They're semi-pro, but my God, they understand what it means to make something that the fans will love.
No, absolutely. So we should probably have a more of a focused discussion on this. Sorry, it's a kind of territory, Maggie, that you and I can go off into. I did say we should. I've got a little other stuff on, so I did say to Murgoot, we're going to have the focus stream. 17 minutes of nonsense. I can't help it, folks. Sorry. Murgoot and I do love to chat about this. Right. So, talking about The Whisper in Darkness, 2011. This was requested by a long-term friend of the show, frequent guest, and I should say all-round intelligent and empathetic Appalachian Years. I know is having internet fun at the moment. I hope when you see this, Years, that we do you proud. This was a lovely suggestion. Now, I can't think what it was about this story of a sort of outsider species that kind of disguise themselves to look like us, who go around in secret tunnels and are aiming to flood the country with outsiders, and are able to control people with basically mind control and lies. I'm not sure why Yiz was drawn to this story until I saw the crop duster scene. I know Yiz absolutely loves vintage planes. And then it all made sense to me. So Yiz, there you go. There's that vintage plane that I know was what drew you to this particular film.
Well, this is one of the role-playing fans of Call of Cthulhu absolutely love the Migo, the fungi from Yugoth. When Lovecraft wrote this, he based Yugoth. It was his dream of what Pluto was. He wrote this story about 6 months after Pluto was discovered. And Yugoth was what he imagined Pluto to be, with a race of fungal aliens who worshiped the old ones, mining Pluto and then coming to Earth and Mars to mine it for resources and for knowledge.
Yeah. Is that why it's like Fungi LLC? Is that a Migo reference? Cheeky. Oh, I did ask you before we started, I had this on screen. We should say, for anyone who saw this logo and was wondering what the Latin was, you actually looked it up. I'd merely got a note to look it up. What's Lude Foro Putevimus?
We thought it would be fun.
Excellent. You got to love the attitude. Also, hi, Dr. Brepper, good to see you. And hi, John Garrison. Everyone else in the chat, it is lovely to see you. So, The Whisper in Darkness. for people who haven't seen it, I'll give you a quick background information. Just as on Thursday, I will read you the introduction to the story in the H.P. Lovecraft Complete Fiction Compendium. The intros are written by S.T. Joshi, the world's foremost Lovecraft expert. None of you will be surprised to hear that name. So, this tale was written during an unusually extended period from February 24th to September 26th, 1930, and its genesis goes back to at least 1927, when Lovecraft first visited Vermont. And I love this bit. Captivated by the unspoilt beauty of the state, Lovecraft wrote an eloquent essay, Vermont, A First Impression, whole passages of which have been incorporated into the story. Oh, I love that. I love that. Right, back to Joshi. The setting of Henry Akeley's farmhouse is a melding of the residences of his friends Vrest Orton and Arthur Goodenough. Lovecraft has deftly included the discovery of the planet Pluto into the text. Its discovery was announced a month after he began writing the tale. It was first published in Weird Tales, August 1931. There we go. A brief introduction by Yoshi there. As for the plot of The Whisper in Darkness, it is a slight change to the original. I want to say a slight, fairly major.
The whole third act was tacked on to give it a little bit more action, more Hollywood feeling.
Yes. And they also, I believe, added a bit of a bookend at the start. Am I right about that?
A little bit of one, yes.
I thought that was really sensible, to be honest. As we acknowledged in a lot of these adaptations, Lovecraft is writing concise stories. There's not always enough there for a feature film, and I do sort of agree with them that the point at which the story ends is likely to underwhelm an audience. Do you think that's fair to say, Murgoot? I mean, maybe we should just do the plot and then let people decide.
Yeah, in the original, he interrupts the ritual and then escapes. And this one, he takes off with Hannah in the airplane, has a dogfight with Amigo, and tries to crash the plane. And instead of escaping, you find out that he's been narrating it from one of the Amigo brain jars. Which is a big difference, but it gives it the downer ending that rather than Wilmarth escaped.
Did he even manage to interrupt the ritual in the original? Forgive me, I haven't been able to read it.
It's been a while since I've read it. I tried to read it and ran out of time.
No worries. I'm shamelessly going off Wikipedia here, which and I'm going from where they say it ends. So I feel very dirty doing this, but so I think he may not have even got to that.
I remember the ending was pretty flat with Wilmarth escaping back to Miskatonic University, and that was, as they say, Lovecraft was known for good stories, but his endings needed a lot of work.
What an interesting thing to say about him, Murgoot. You know, it just occurred to me totally randomly, someone else who's meant to be super, super inspired by Lovecraft. What was that name? Stefan Duke? Stefan Emperor? I can't remember it. It's gone. It's gone.
Oh, yes. Everybody's favorite Twitter lol cow, Stephen King.
It didn't have to be this way, Stefan. It didn't have to be this way.
He does a great Lovecraft pastiche with a lot more action than Lovecraft brought around. I mean, Stephen King's mass market, but he introduced many people to Lovecraft and Derleth.
Yeah, I mean, we can't look. He has to be poked for his TDS, but the man, as you say, brought attention to Lovecraft, brought attention to Derleth, brought attention to Shirley Jackson. You know, so you know we'll always appreciate that. And his book on writing is rather good. Anyway, let's give a bit of plot for anyone who, like us, well, certainly like me, shamelessly hasn't read the book or hasn't seen the film. And we'll talk about Divergence, and we'll maybe give a little bit of reference to a modernized adaptation that came out for the really curious, for people who love this story and want a different spin on it. The Whisperer in Darkness has a lot of your classic Lovecraft tropes. We are somewhat epistolary. We are in perspective. We are someone telling you the story of the story. So a layer of abstraction that Lovecraft loves to use to add doubt. And it's a great way of him hiding details from you and being able to summarize, which is used wonderfully in this film, I'm going to say. We have an academic looking at folklore who his name is
Albert Wilmarth.
You heard me do that and you just thought, she's not going to know the name. She's going to have forgotten every single character's name. Maybe Akeley. Maybe Akeley will stick it there.
Akeley is the Vermont gentleman farmer who's been sending correspondence to Wilmarth at Miskatonic University. And it's basically Wilmarth. He's a folklorist. In the story, he's an amateur folklorist, but he does philosophy at Miskatonic University. And it's an intriguing story of beings from beyond the stars. The Indians have talked about it. The old farmers in the 1800s. Davenport writes a portfolio on it, which Wilmarth has found complete.
After looking and oh my gosh, in this lovely shot. Oh, it's so good. I love how this film looks.
And in a takeaway, it's not specified who the debate is in the short story, but they bring in Charles Fort.
Here we go.
Of Fortiana fame. Cryptids, weird happenings, Hollow Earth, everything weird under the sun. And he was a big, he started out a lot of that. He reported on Edgar Casey. He reported on the spiritualists. And the fact that they brought him into this as a realistic touch point was quite fun.
Yeah, I mean, they also let him get some really quite good points in, you know. Was it how can I say, some of the points that we might make in our circles about just the limitations of science and the presuppositions of science and even the incentives of some institutions. And it's quite interesting to see those points being made quite forthrightly and quite strongly in this. It's like, oh, that's pretty good there.
And hello, Devante.
Yeah, hey, Devante. I haven't managed to see you for a while. Good to see you, man. I hope you are keeping well. Yeah, we're doing a fun little stream there, fun little bonus stream. So, yeah, this is a nice touch. This sets you up. It's an interesting world. It gets you your skeptic character's motivation to go over because he is investigating the phenomena reported by Henry Akeley. This lets you get your suspension build up, your summary, as Akeley is reporting these weird little happenings. The man has to be convinced to go over, but you're also kept away from the action. So again, this is the Lovecraft classic. He'll report someone reporting,
Yeah.
but it
Specifically, Akeley's son, who brings. Martha's already received Farmer Akeley's letters explaining what's going on, that there's wild creatures with claws hanging around his house, and
but it's
son
just
comes to reinforce it, and he brings some photographs, which
that is, yeah, it's enough to give you a taste. But it's also, it's just a really neat device for Lovecraft being able to just like give you the tastiest information, because someone is reporting it and someone is reporting someone reporting it. They just give you the highlights. It's a great way of him being able to write efficiently and skip out what he doesn't want you to know. We get these great scenes of the guys talking about it and investigating, and you see all their nice little props, and there's a cool device where they find a way of looking at the photos that they originally see are completely blurry, but then someone finds a way of looking at them. I loved this. I thought this was such a cool touch.
The astronomer's stereoscope. That was a neat thing to bring in. I was, and they explained it well, that it was to check out 2 photographs for parallax. It's one of they take telescopic photographs of the night sky and then use a stereoscope to see the precession of the stars, and that's how they found Pluto.
So what a lovely link in.
Yeah, they really did their homework on this.
It's also, it ties into some of the stuff I love about Lovecraft stories. Are just he writes this thing about how his creations don't really. Basically, we just can't make sense of them. We can't see them. They don't make sense to our brains, and we can't perceive them. And just they represent that really well with this photo. That our eyes just cannot get the hang of them. I thought that was done really nicely.
Until they put it on the stereoscope and then put on the damn it, brain fart.
No.
Yeah, he puts the special lens on. Damn it, I'm getting old.
Don't worry. Don't worry. It's all good.
I use stereoscopes all the time in my geology laboratories, and they're wonderful tools. Even if they seem ancient, they're still very, very useful. Polarized lens. That's the word I was looking at.
I'm amazed you got that then and not like in the shower tomorrow, which is usually when this information pops back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to re-emphasize, like, these guys know what they're doing. Lovely little shot here. Lovely shot.
Mayan jade skull face mask.
They set it up with the kind of stuff the guy is interested in. Look at these weird artifacts. It already makes the room a bit eerie, a bit, oh, this is a spooky territory we're going into. But then just having that face over his shoulder, looming over him, as he has the more secretive exchange with Henry Akeley's son. Oh, it's a nice... It kind of looks a lot like Tarman from Return of the Living Dead. So I appreciated that as well.
Well, it's also a point in when you realize that the Migo who's impersonating Akeley, and when he takes off his Akeley costume, all he finds is the face mask and the bolted on hands that go over the claws.
Yes. A nice setup. A very nice setup. I did have another question about one of their technical matters, Murgoot. Something pops into my head. The thing that George is presenting, because there is an air of secrecy, folks, if you're following us, there's a theory that there are powerful interests trying to prevent the story of what's going down in Vermont getting out. So George Akeley's being very careful about it, but he sort of shows his photos to a small audience, but then to this guy, our protagonist, he wants to be extra careful, and so he gives him a phonograph.
An old wax cylinder
Yes.
phonograph that allows
So
people to record, not just to listen to it.
Yeah. So am I being dense? Because Akeley Akeley is not a fan of these creatures. He's not a fan of the cultists working with the creatures. He records them, but this is a pretty hefty bit of equipment to lug around. I mean, surely, that's not like a spy microphone. That's a hefty old thing to lug and point at a creature. I found myself having a little bit of a hang on moment when he described that.
Well, it's stated that Farmer Akeley is an amateur scientist. He's an amateur philosopher, and he has a lot of scientific equipment.
I just wondered about the physical logistics of moving that thing.
Well, they said he recorded it around the house when they were talking around the house. They were buzzing around the house. I think it was an interesting point that they Akeley the Younger mentioned getting a guard dog, and you never see the guard dog in person. Part of that was budget, and hiring an animal handler is expensive, even just for the one rat.
Yeah. In one of in the other adaptation I mentioned to people, which was a BBC podcast adaptation that modernizes a story, they sort of make a big deal of the guard dogs and how they're initially effective, but they get picked off, and it's sort of a good way of you counting down to the farmer being taken, to Akeley being taken. So they made much more of it, but yeah, as you say, they're not there. You get a lot of shots of like the dog food. And I think if you remember it, you can think, oh, they probably were killed off, or it should make you uneasy when he finally gets to the Akeley residence after being given a fairly how can we say? Well, you get some more classic Lovecraft elements, like he goes from getting these handwritten letters from Akeley to suddenly getting a typewritten one. And if you've read enough Lovecraft, you're like, okay, who's writing that letter? Lovecraft is really great at hiding when someone suddenly is portraying someone else. It's a lovely device. He does it over and over again. I love it.
Well, I like the fact that when Wilmarth first listens to the cylinder, the humans sound human, but they use the software voice distorter for the Migo talking to them. And the fact that Wilmarth doesn't recognize that Migo Akeley, when he's talking to him, oh, I'm sick, and he buzzes like one of the Migo. That's it's obvious to the audience that it's not right.
Yeah. Well, that and the suspicious, handsome man who picks him up at the train station. I mean, among many, Mr. George Noyes, is it? Anyway, when our boy Wilmarth says like, "Hey, do I know your voice from somewhere?" It's like, I don't know. The intelligent audience member can piece things together. Like, hang on, suddenly we've got a letter that's not in the dude's handwriting. We've got a different person picking him up. They've demanded you bring all of the evidence to one place.
Yeah.
Alarm bells should be going off here.
Well, when the son returns, he's sent back by Akeley with one of the black statuettes that they pulled from the circle. And that's going back to the point of it's a conspiracy. Wilmarth is supposed to meet him in Boston at the train yard, and Akeley the younger never gets off the train, and the statue's back at the Akeley farmhouse.
Yes, there's it's nicely done. I mean, they give you a hand wavy story for where the sun's gone, but then they went to the effort of doing an insert shot at the end of his body by the train tracks, which was really nice. Yeah, I love that, and I think Noise, the general portrayal of Noise, was absolutely wonderful. And that's the character Noise, not the aural phenomenon. Yeah, it was good. There's enough in there for the intelligent audience member to sort of track and think, oh, dodgy stuff is occurring.
Well, I thought it was interesting that he picked him up in a Rolls Royce, showing that he had wealth and power. I wonder how much that cost them to rent out of their budget.
You know, I'm daft, Murgoot. I didn't pick up on that. I was just, oh, it's an old time car. That's a really good point. So something that was on my attention throughout this film is, and it strikes me on a lot of this kind of production, is how hard it is to kind of keep the future out of these films. Like the immense effort that you have to go to make something like portraying 1930. Like you have to work really hard to keep the future out. Like it's a nightmare.
Yeah, the dog bowls at Wilmarth's house, at the doorway, and you turn around and you see the monument to his deceased wife and daughter. That was about the only anachronistic thing I saw, because those were modern stainless steel dog bowls. I never seen that type of dog bowl pre-1950.
Yeah, these little things can slip by you, you know. Yeah, Devontae saying period pieces and shows are even more tricky. Absolutely. When I lived in London, there was they do weird. They were shooting one of them around where I lived, and they had to do this weird thing of there was just one corner of a street was right. It had old bricks. It hadn't really been touched in about 50 years. The shop front looked okay, and then they went in to kind of cover up everything else around it. So they had to cover up the paving stones. You know, they put sort of tactful newspaper over things like that would give it away, like ventilation machines. They covered that up with a poster. I was like, the effort they went to so that they had about 15 meters of 1950 or whatever it was. It was amazing. Like, but yeah, they had to exclude so much to make it believable. And often when you see any of these period things, if it's not one of the standard mega sets, then you'll often see that it's a really tight close up until they can get to an interior set, just because that outside world is hard to make look like the past, no matter how much you try. Sorry, I'm going off topic here. We're sort of at the centerpiece of the story now, like the meeting with Akeley. Wilmarth has been called in. He meets Akeley, who is acting weird, as you say, speaking slightly weird. Wants to
Passing
stay
it
in the
off as
dark.
being ill.
Yes, corroborating Noy's story. And after a brief rest, they're going to have a long conversation, which is effectively the meat of the short story, the big reveal, the setup, all the science fiction intrigue. Would you like to describe that for people, Murgoot?
Which part? The meeting?
Yes, the meeting, the conversation at night, and I will get us some fantastic imagery from it.
Well, it talks about Akeley, the Migo, talks about, I've talked to them, they're not to be feared, they're here to bring knowledge and accept knowledge, and they're here to get what they want, but they're willing to accept help. They bring along marvelous technology, and then it's eventually revealed that they can put human brains and other alien brains into Migo brain jars and take them through space to Yugoth to meet with others and to learn and to teach. And he's got a shelf full of brains, and it's explained that 3 are human and the rest of them are alien species that they've collected over time. And you're introduced to B-47, which is, and he explains the joys of going through time and space. And do you want to do this? We'd love for you to do this, to Wilmarth. And Wilmarth is absolutely shocked. I loved the combination of 1930s. I mean, they've got a dynamo, they've got
Yes,
Jacob's ladders, straight out of the Universal Pictures.
Absolutely.
And then the sensors, the eyes, and the speakers are something out of modern day, which would have been absolutely, they're clean. They're, in the 1930s, they would have been seen as alien, which it brings that about. And I absolutely love it.
It's a really good touch. The vibe is a sort of like extremely visual lab, you know, that we expect to see, like big science. How can I say, the way the lab is decorated in something like Hammer Horror's Curse of Frankenstein, you know, they want it visually busy. Like, this is great. also including the like the advanced tech is a very nice point to kind of get you buy-in. This is way beyond anything anyone could go. I guess it just has this sort of vibe of like techno optimism of the past. You know, like weird call maybe, but like I remember like the Atomium in Brussels. Like, trust me, bros, the Jetsons is just around the corner. We're heading there, boys.
Everybody keeps saying I want my flying cars, and it's, have you ever driven in Denver? God forbid Boston or Dallas.
Goodness.
Or I've been to those places. I could only imagine London, between all the roundabouts and the the congestion fees and everything like that. Just the insanity.
No, thank you. No, thank you. But
flying cars, people drive like idiots and, well, excuse my French, assholes. And just imagine the insurance rates.
Oh, exactly. It doesn't matter thinking about it, does it? Yeah, just this. This feels like the core of the movie to me, Murgoot. Like this.
It's where it really ramped up.
Yeah, like forgive me for sounding like a fake zoomer, but this is the vibe of the film. Like if you can buy into this, you're gonna have a great time. There's a sort of visual logic to it. You put it in the line in the sort of same visual genus as the Thing from Another Planet, or was it the Morbius, the brain that could not die, that sort of thing. You know,
Oh man,
it's like
that's a throwback.
that's what you love on this channel. You know, you're drawn. You come for the psychoanalytic theory reaches, but you stay for me talking about Zoltan, Hound of Dracula. That's what you all really want.
Oh, the brain that would not die. I can still. I need to find a screenshot of that, but
Go for it.
Just that image.
DM it to me. I'll pop it on screen or pop it in the private chat, and I'll get it on for anyone, the folks to enjoy. But yeah, this is just firmly planting its feet in a period and showing they can do that style, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Now, at this point, though, basically, the short story kind of ends. There's not much more to it. Sort of following this revelation about a conspiracy of alien species and their supposed good intentions and your ability to travel the stars forever as a brain in a jar. There's a little bit extra where Wilmoth goes to sleep, but he's woken up by a sort of noisy discussion downstairs, and then goes down and has a shocking discovery that causes him to flee all the way back to Miskatonic, where he then informs you, the reader, of what he's seen, saving the revelation for the very end. That revelation being that he discovered Akeley's, the man he was talking to, the thing he was talking to, was Akeley, something in an Akeley mask with fake hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very Lovecraft. It cuts off.
A callback to the Mayan jade mask. Just that was really, really well done, I thought.
It is as well, and just like a side thing, a very side thing. Maybe I've been watching too much Rob Agar, but you see this sofa arm here?
Mm-hmm.
Does it look to you like a mouth screaming?
Yes, it does.
So it's a nice touch, just like a little bit of horror. It's like an alien mouth screaming at you, and just it's a nice choice that they put in there to increase the horror. So that's where the story ends, but we go a lot beyond that.
Yeah, the third act of the movie, like I said, was totally tacked on. Him finding the ritual site was in the story, but the Hannah attaching herself to him and helping him escape, and the airplane, that was, what was the comment that they made about it?
The creators. I think you're thinking of them saying like, if you've got flying aliens, they need to have a fight in the air.
Yeah, a biplane dogfight.
Yeah. I question that. I can see their logic, but I question it.
They wanted it to be more cinematic, dramatic and cinematic, and it was great period where they're dogfighting with the Migo without all they have is a flashlight to toss at them. But
yeah, that was a really interesting bit. The film kind of eschews the protagonist ever fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like that as a touch. Just it's subtly done, but he just avoids it. He never gets violent, and he has to come up with an intelligent way of getting around the problem. Like he can just sabotage the ritual.
By
But
throwing the brain jar into the portal first.
Exactly. I just wanted to go back to quickly just the image from the conversation he overhears overnight, because this is what I wanted to ask you, Murgoot, is we just sort of see shadow play at this point.
Yeah,
kind
the
of like
puppetry of the arms and just the shadow play of that. That was beautiful.
I mean, I'm putting this out here, Murgoot. I'm not saying you can leave it exactly as it is. You would need to do a little bit of change, but I would have been pretty happy with the story ending about here. Like, I could have done with it a little bit of reworking, but I kind of loved how it was left to the imagination. The shadow work is great. I mean, if we all cast our mind back to Buffy season 1 episode, I think 6, Teacher's Pet, correct me folks, when it's the praying mantis substitute teacher lady, sexy praying mantis, we all remember that one. That one did perfectly well with no budget, so they just did shadow puppet work. That's bugging me. I think it was the pack is episode 4. So we're not going to go into it. We're not going to do all of Buffy season 1. But if anyone wants to, it's driving me mad. If anyone wants to enter in chat which episode Teacher's Pet was. Basically, what I wanted to ask you is, I could happily leave the story here with just the minor bit of tweaking. The horrific discovery, the fleeing into the night.
It's basically where the story ended up. I mean, finding the ritual grounds, but yeah.
I didn't need the more bombastic ending stuff. I could have very happily left it there rather than, well, I'll get to the ritual. Here we go.
Yeah.
The scale is impressive, but I didn't need it. So how did you feel? Could it have been left where it was, or do you feel it?
Both ways work. I would have liked for it to follow the original story, but the cinematic touches were a lot of fun, and someone was definitely a fan of Marvel Comics because
what
High Priest Noise looked like Loki.
Oh,
I
thought it was a bit of like a Galactus helmet.
More Loki.
Okay, I'll trust you on
the
that.
80s and 90s, but the robes, the partial armor, the gloating. Somebody was definitely a fan of Marvel. But yeah, this worked really well. I mean, they did really good with the CGI of the portal opening, and then Wilmar throwing the brain jar in to interrupt the ritual, and the Migo attacking Noise right after that because the ritual failed. That was a nice touch. They did really well with that.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice payoff, and in a Lovecraftian, Lovecraft tends to dodge the, what can I say? There's something basically, what's the point of going to this very unusual setup, this very distinctive storytelling, if the solution to the problem is, oh, I just shot the dude? It's like, maybe once or twice you can use it, but you want to be distinctive. And Lovecraft manages to do that, either from protagonists just not being able to confront the danger and just legging it, giving you the downer ending, or them finding a clever way around it, as we do here. It's like, I always like that element to it, and it just really stood out. Like the protagonist here just subtly avoids violence.
Several of the characters in the movie were based off of role-playing characters that the past characters that almost everybody in the movie are big fans of Lovecraft. They're big fans of role playing, and the script based several of the characters, including the astronomer, off of characters from the role playing game. I mean, HPLHS are big nerds.
You don't say.
It's
Yeah. No, it shows, but it's a labor of love, and they included some great things. I'm just looking for the guy. Here we go. Like, this farmer character is, oh man, we know this guy. This guy is like a stock character from a 1950s thing. I'm thinking of, say, the farmer that threatens the kids, the alien children in Village of the Damned. It's like, he reminds, there's usually a kind of bumpkin, angry hick, who for some reason Hollywood likes to do horrible things to. I can't think why. But
yeah,
he's
the
like the
country
stock character to
bumpkin or the town drunk.
Oh, yeah. Just bring in George Buckflower. We need to shoot him again.
Yeah. That's
so when they veer off into like their own additions to the story to make it more cinematic, you know, yeah, I can understand the logic. Personally, as I said, I didn't need it, but I see where they went. I thought this was really smart. This character felt right, and this scene of him basically trying to warn Wilmarth off with the daughter sort of watching scared, I thought that worked really well. That had actual good tension in it. Yeah.
This scene was rather well done, and instead of shooting Wilmarth when Wilmarth is grabbing for Davenport's folio, he shoots the folio. Instead, shows he still has a conscience about things, and he's conflicted.
Yes, yeah. It's a nicely done thing. You can see he's sort of been brought in, and he's doing it all under duress, possibly fighting the Migos' influence. But it also, I felt, was them keeping in touch with another Lovecraft classic, folks. We all love it. We love our Lovecraft tropes. This is the evidence always has to be destroyed. So, here's the stuff we've collated. Oh my gosh, it's my proof. Oh, I brought it all and they've destroyed it in a fire. No, now no one will believe me and I'll go into an asylum. I say that slightly mockingly. I love it. I love how it's used. This continued that, like, oh, you've got your book. I've shot it. I've shot it to pieces.
Yeah.
I thought lovely, very knowing.
Well, after reading the note that they based some of the characters off of characters that they rolled up for a role-playing game, I've played a lot of COC, and one of the fallback tropes of the game, it's, well, how do you destroy one of the Dark Young of Shub-Niggurath? And conveniently, one of the characters has a crate of dynamite with him. It's okay. They're using all the tropes. Where's the dynamite? It's yes, I'm nerding out, but
it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, we're just saying we like that original creations here. They made their own thing. They're clearly referencing the lore. It feels good. They got a child actress who wasn't terrible.
Yeah, she was one of the better actors in the movie.
She's really good. She looked great. They had the scene with her here where, okay, this is one of the bits where I was struggling, even though it's an absolutely gorgeous shot where I felt like this is one of those scenes where it's like, we need 3 minutes in the movie, guys. And he... Wilmarth here basically gives a bit of his own backstory to try and bond with her. She's just seen her dad shoot himself in the head, so she's having a pretty rough time here. I would I wouldn't try and bridge that, but
Yeah.
it felt quite knowing when he offers to sing to her a song that he sang to his daughter, and she's like, no.
No.
Very good decision. Very good decision. Quite knowing.
Yeah.
And I will say also kudos to them. You'll forgive me, Murgoot. I obviously saved a bit of gore because I thought this was a really nicely done shot. One of the discoveries inside the cave of the Migo.
Yeah.
That's great. You'd never get that in the 1930s, but
Akeley just hanging around.
we. Well, I always said he was a barefaced liar, you know.
Yeah.
Etc. Yeah, that looks fantastic. Kind of a license of like, we can make it look like the 1930s, but also, you know, there are things we can do now that we definitely couldn't do then. So let's enjoy them. One of the downsides of them expanding the story, though, as you said, Murgoot, they want a fight on a biplane. But at this point, they are really showing the Migo up close. And I forget his name, but there's a Korean film called, was it Taegukgi Brotherhood, about the Korean Civil War. And the director there had some really interesting thoughts on how to use his budget. And he basically said, look, our CGI isn't great, so I had a rule that it can't be on screen more than 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And he was specifically thinking of stuff like planes. He would have it move fast, only be on very, very briefly. So basically your eye didn't have time to get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt they were using that logic a bit for some of the plane shots. But they did get a bit cocky and do their close-ups. And
I actually liked that. The techno wizardry of the Migo, the helmet, the fungus brain, slime mold kind of thing, the lobster arms. I thought it was fun just because it holds to almost the King Kong stop motion mixed with a little bit of CGI. I really did like it.
I'm glad it worked. I'm glad it worked for you. I found it jarring a bit. I think, how can I say, it's that this is all subjective. I can't really justify it, and this could just be cope. This could just me trying to rationalize, but I can work with bad physical effects, or let's not say bad. Let's say obvious physical effects a lot easier than I can CGI effects. And I think it's just on some level it's whether I know something was in the room or not. And I don't know if that's a real reason, but that's how I'm trying to make sense of it. How I have a lot of tolerance for like really bad latex gore.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was effective for what the budget they had. I mean, their CGI time was basically donated.
Yeah.
And for what they had, it was very effective.
Yeah, I feel bad like pointing it out, but I feel that, okay, put it this way. If this is what you can do, if this is like the limit, I think you need your audience extremely bought in. I think that's probably the nicest way to say it. An audience who is absolutely on board will forgive this. But you've got to, you run the risk of losing other people briefly. And I've got to say, when they plucked Hannah out from the plane, I'm afraid that did result in me just laughing. Like children dying is funny at the best of times.
That was a nice touch. The one female character gets dropped.
Well, yeah, you don't want to become a protagonist, you know. You got to nip that stuff in the bud, Murgoot.
Yeah. the effect with you could tell that the plane was a model because even on my 17-inch laptop screen, you could see the wires behind the rain, which I thought was a charming touch.
It was a smart idea to have the rain as well. Like that is a nice way of hiding stuff. Like, you get away with a lot by putting rain in the picture.
Well, my problem with that is old biplanes, especially in 1912 or 1913, like they were flying, the doped canvas would fall apart in the rain.
Oh.
It's just me.
No, fair enough. Not a detail I picked up on. I'm too ignorant of that stuff, but yes.
I was kind of a plane geek for a long time.
Okay, fair play. Look, hey, we've all got our special interests, right? It requires a lot of buy-in, let's put it like that. So I personally would have dodged it, but as you know, I was very happy for the story to sort of tail off quite early. Kudos for them trying to push it up into the more epic realm. I mean, this might be a decent point to quickly mention what happened on the radio adaptation, or rather, I should say the podcast adaptation. Being really quick with this, the BBC, quite a while ago now, I want to say it's like 10 years, did an adaptation of the case of Charles Dexter Ward, but they disguised it as like a true crime podcast. It was brilliant. They call themselves the Mystery Machine. It's been rebranded now as the Lovecraft Investigations. But they played it absolutely straight, and it was just like a 9-episode retelling of the case of Charles Dexter Ward as if it were a true crime, all modernized. It was absolutely wonderful. Just a fantastic use of the story, which was already quite based around an investigation, so it fit really well. It was so successful that they did a second season, and that season was sort of carried over some elements of the first, and then otherwise adapted The Whisper in Darkness. The third, I want to say, was A Shadow over Innsmouth, and I can't remember for the life of me what the fourth covered, but it was a good laugh.
I listened to the first episode of Whisper in Darkness and just found it meh. It wasn't too believable, and I just didn't carry on with it.
No, fair enough. I can't recommend it super highly. It's one of the ones where their format of, hey guys, we're making a radio show, it's a little bit of that found footage technique, like I just happen to be recording as we go, but at the same, it ran into quite huge trouble once it moved out of the sort of exchange of information epistolary style that the story starts with. Towards the end, their version of this, they play it much straighter, but still have them interrupt the opening of the tunnel between worlds, except their format, how can I say, it's got the found footage problem as well as quite a lot of girl bossing, because they needed to carry over characters. So you've got people sort of become real action heroines, and then they're stuck trying to narrate their sort of kicking of ass and running around in a forest, and it's sort of the format didn't work for it. I'm raising this. I realize it doesn't add much, but I'm just raising it for a comparison of another attempt to do the story, to make it cinematic, to sort of fill it out a bit, and how that just failed. Whereas, because I've had a few jabs at this ending, but in comparison to the Lovecraft Investigations, it worked a heck of a lot better. So kudos to it on that. May not have been helpful, and you may still wish to listen to the Lovecraft Investigations certainly season 1. Beyond that, it's an acquired taste. The other thing I have to add in here is that because it was made by the British BBC, one of the things they need to make sure you absolutely know is that Mr. Lovecraft had some terrible, terrible ideas. And even though they love his work and want to make money off it, they really don't like these horrible, illiberal views that Mr. Lovecraft had. So they begin tying, increasingly blatantly tying in their adaptations of the stories into one overarching mega narrative, and also tying it into British far-right history. By season 4, they're talking about John Tyndall, and it's
oh god,
excuse me, I would like some Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep. Excuse me. Can we get back to Shubnapper off, please?
Yes. Yeah, it's Nyarlathotep.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
It's
weird.
The modern rationalization of Lovecraft. I mean, the only one in the past 10 years that I've really enjoyed. Everybody's like, oh, Lovecraft Country is great. And I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about?
I saw that trailer. I'm not going near that stuff.
I watched the first season and I was severely disappointed. I mean, it was a Jordan Peele production, so what do you expect?
Yeah, there's your first warning.
It's The Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage wasn't completely faithful, but it was very, very good, and it was about the only really, truly good Lovecraft adaptation of the past 10 years.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. Well, I will add the Lovecraft Investigation season 1 to that mix. I hope we're not forgetting anything else of the ones that have been actually good, but possibly I am. My memory is terrible on this stuff. But yeah, Color Out of Space did really stand out as being particularly wonderful.
I mean, there are some that are a lot of fun, but they're not canon. I mean, the last Lovecraft was awful, except for the animated exposition dump, which is absolutely hysterical and exactly spot on. And the Call Girl of Cthulhu is a laugh riot. I mean, if you like the Toxic Avenger, Call Girl of Cthulhu is hilarious. But they're not exactly faithful.
No. Oh dear. All right.
Sorry, geeking out again.
It's all right. It's gonna happen. Oh dear. Yeah, I think that probably is about right. That the Color Out of Space was a big one. Anyway, right. Oh, and I admit, you star. I've got it. Can I? Sorry, you found me an image that is extremely important for people to see. Let's get that up for everyone. We promised you Morbius. We delivered you Morbius. The brain that would not die.
It's when this came out, there were only rumors, it wasn't confirmed, but the Russian experiments to keep the dog's head alive and then a human head alive on its own were just rumors. And later on you found out when they were declassified when the Soviet Union fell that they were actually true. The dog's head survived, but the human head was just an absolute disaster.
Oh dear. Well, we'll give you your Morbius and then we'll just go back to our shot in the lab. Just for comparison. Back to Morbius. And then back to the lab again, y'all. There we go. Gosh, it looks good.
Yeah, the Wilmarth talking with Akeley's head jar. That was showed a nice human touch when Akeley discovers he's a head in a jar and I can't feel my legs and please kill me, and Wilmarth can't kill him, which I thought was a very human touch.
Yeah, it matched his character not using violence, and that also, in terms of that, they had made that scene more effective by showing George Noyes basically torture one of the brains in the jar, kill one of the brains in the jar. The fact that there's a switch like right there to punish them is very telling. They do that a lot. They discipline them a lot. They that was one of the genuinely effective scenes. As I said, we talked in you might come in with a little bit of irony, oh gosh, it's all quirky, it's like the 1930s, haha, it's all old-time style. But when you're watching that scene, I think you are genuinely, sincerely bought in, and it is actually difficult to watch that poor brain in a jar suffer, and that is effective filmmaking. So they have a lot of those moments in this. They knew what they were doing. But we're going to be quite efficient with this stream. So I think the only other thing that we definitely have to mention is that they went for the extreme downer ending. Having set up rather well that basically you can't believe your own eyes and that they can get in your head, etc., etc. The Mego can get inside your head. You see Wilmarth make a heroic sacrifice of himself to try and take them out. And as he's doing that, you do start wondering, hang on, wait. How are we learning about this? This is Lovecraft. Everything is reported. How are we hearing this story? And just as that's working, that logic is working its way through your head, the horrible ending kicks in. It's like, oh no, it didn't work. Oh, they got him. And I thought, I had my doubts about it, especially the CGI, but I love that ending. That was a lovely change.
Excuse me.
Oh, no worries, man, no worries. I don't know if I sprung that on you. Did this final twist of the knife work for you?
Yes, it did. Its Whisper in Darkness was one of Lovecraft's few neutral endings, and they turned it on its head and made it one of Lovecraft's downer endings with a sharp punch, which was a nice thing. They rewrote the ending and made it more effective than Lovecraft's, where Wilmarth just escapes and you find him back in Arkham talking to people about his experiences. This is more effective.
Yeah, I liked it. It was a good change. And again, in keeping. Good on them. With that said, to make sure we stay efficient, shall we do our sort of wrap-up thoughts and scores?
Certainly. I really liked the 1930s style. It was rather effective. Since the CGI was minimal, the ritual site and the close-up of the Mego, I found it charming. The shadow play.
Good. Little coughings there.
Coughing fit, yeah.
Oh, bless you.
You're
talking about the shadow play.
The shadow play was wonderful. The cinematography, the period set pieces were awesome. The acting was okay, but there were a couple of professional actors. The rest of them brought in were Lovecraft fans. and amateur thespians. They do a lot of HP Lovecraft Historical Society puts on a lot of LARPs, especially with period pieces. They actually sell period newspapers and customized props for that. The acting was good. Hannah was really good, I thought, as was the conflicted farmer. I really enjoyed those. Akeley was good. The rest were workmanlike. The astronomer was very, very annoying. But it was well made. The budget it was on this film is astounding for a $50,000 budget. 104 minutes for $50,000 is just remarkable. I was impressed by the movie. I have to, as an HP Lovecraft fan, I have to give it 9 burgers, a little bit of cheese, just for the crop duster, and some of the effects. But I could roll with the effects. The crop duster was annoying. I rated up for the foreshadowing. Absolutely no pickles, no real ketchup. Well, there was a little bit where the farmer chasing Wilmarth down the cave, down the lattice, and that ragdoll effect was very effective. They knew how to film it without making it look like a ragdoll. Like I said, 9 out of 12 burgers.
Very fair, very fair. Yeah, there is. I'm basically going to echo that. I think 9 is fair. This is extremely enjoyable. It's moving very quickly. You could have maybe trimmed a minute or two if I'm going to be really harsh. I'm just going to say, I'll be honest, I didn't care. The big place I take points off is the writing about the stuff with Hannah in the barn. Like, this was a slightly awkward thing. Her dad's just shot himself. Trying to have a dialogue about your dead wife and dead daughter to her and win her over really didn't work for me. That was like the only major misstep for me, where I just thought, oh, what are you doing? And it's really awkward because it followed one of the best scenes in the film. So I'm docking points for that. I'm docking points for CGI. And I feel awful doing that, given that they made this for about 2p. And what they've achieved is absolutely astounding because it looks gorgeous. Just, gosh darn it. Like, the craft services for one episode of The Rings of Power would be like triple the budget of this film.
Or more.
You know, that it's like like the look of this was made for like a rounding error in the absolute dumpster fire that is Rings of Power. And it breaks my heart. There are artists here who could do amazing stuff, and I really wish they got the chance to. Oh dear. Anyway, so it is a huge achievement. You used the word that I think stuck with me most, charming. I like my 1940 stuff. I like my 1930 stuff. It always tends to come with an air of, I think, charm, likability, coziness. This has that. It was lovely to watch, and didn't lean on the sort of. It didn't lead on an ironic, like, wink at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
even though, you know, it's self-consciously of a different style, it takes itself seriously and it pays off. And that was a smart decision. It made all the right choices. I just wish it had $1 million to live its dream, but they did absolutely incredible stuff. It's very charming. It's a good time, a wonderful adaptation. I wish there were more. It's thoroughly earned the 9 burgers. Small amount of ketchup, as you'd expect. You know, you've got the faceless body in the pit. There's a little bit when it splashes on her face, but they are keeping it to what they could do and what you would see at the time. Nice that there's no swearing, very little cheese, no pickle, just a really good story, and impressive acting all around. So yeah, lots to love. 9 out of 12. Heartily would recommend. And yeah, so there we go. A very efficient stream for you all. And a wonderful recommendation. Thank you again, Years, for requesting this. Thank you also for supporting the channel, of course, because these bonuses have basically of late all been requests from members, and I do like to do something for channel members because you are wonderful in supporting me and this very idiosyncratic venture that I go on and try and take you with me on. So we'll quickly sign off, give you back the rest of your Saturday, and we'll just remind you, if you didn't catch Thursday's stream, go and watch that. That was another Lovecraft adaptation that was suitable flesh. And we are entering July and doing a new focus, and that focus will be going through the 28X later series. That is still the plan. If there is a shocking turnabout, then I will let you know, but we are set to begin watching 28 days later on Thursday. We'll get to 28 weeks later, and I believe we're going to try and slot in Dead Set. And if we don't do that, then we have another request that we can do. So prep yourselves. 28 days later, we'll be covering that Thursday. Murgoot, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much. This was great. I appreciate his recommending this. I've been promoting this to every Lovecraft fan I can find who hasn't heard of it. So yeah, this was a joy to do.
Yeah, it really was. And I love hearing you talk Lovecraft. It's, you know, I always come away thinking, I've got more reading to do. And chat, thank you very much for joining us. I'll sign off now. See you Thursday, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
#ShellGang.